Hola clase, vamos a hablar del subjuntivo. Esto es la gramática de capítulo 3, la segunda parte, y el título de esta lección se llama El subjuntivo, verbos regulares, y es de página 132 en el libro. El subjuntivo. So the subjunctive tense is a tense that we haven't seen yet before in Spanish, or you may have seen it and not even realize that you have. But this is the first time we'll be looking at it explicitly. And usually we see it in a compound sentence that has three parts. The first part is the main clause. The compound sentence is connected by a K. And then after the K is what's called the subordinate clause. So the tenses that we usually see when we see the subjunctive is when in the main clause we see the present indicative. Remember, that's a tense that we learned in Spanish 1. O, as, a, amos, an. O, es, e, hemos, en. This is the regular present tense. So in the main clause we see the present indicative. The connector is a K. And then the subordinate clause is where we see the present subjunctive. So in the main clause, we might see something like what a person wants, suggests, or demands. That, or K as the connector, someone else does. What a person wants, that someone else does. What a person suggests, that someone else does. What a person demands, that someone else does. Let's look at a few examples. Yo quiero que tú respires lentamente. I want for you to breathe slowly. El entrenador exige que los atletas estiren los músculos. The trainer demands that the athletes stretch their muscles. Yo sugiero que tú bebas agua antes de correr. I suggest that you drink water before running. So here in the main clause, you see that the verbs are in the present indicative. They're connected by a K. And here in the subordinate clause, we see the verbs in the subjunctive, the present subjunctive. Another time that we see the subjunctive is in the main clause. We see general or impersonal ideas, a K connector, and then the present subjunctive in the subordinate clause. Here's a few examples. Es necesario que hagas ejercicio. It's necessary that you do exercise. Es importante que los jóvenes coman bien. It's important that young people eat well. Es bueno que ustedes tomen mucho agua. It's good that you guys drink a lot of water. So these are general or impersonal ideas. It's necessary, it's important, it's good, and so on. That as the connector, and then the present subjunctive. Hagas, coman, tomen. Now, let's talk about how we form the subjunctive. These steps should look very familiar because they're the same steps that we used when we were learning the negative to commands. And then the usted and the ustedes commands also use this process. So let's review. Number 1, go to the yo, remember? So we're going to conjugate in the yo form of the present indicative. Step 2, we'll drop the O. Step 2b, is it car, gar, or zar? If it is, change the C to QU, change the G to GU, change the Z to C. And then you add the opposite vowel ending, which in this case, for the AR verbs, we will add e, es, e, hemos, eis, en. And for ER and IR verbs, we will add a, as, a, amos, ais, and an. So let's see if we can do a few examples. How would you conjugate the verb hablar? Hable, hables, hable, hablemos, habléis, hablen. That's the present subjunctive of the verb hablar. How about the verb correr? Corra, corras, corra, corramos, corráis, corran. And the verb escribir. Escriba, escribas, escriba, escribamos, escribáis, escriban. So it's important that we remember to use all of these steps. Those verbs I just showed you were irregular verbs, but what would happen if the verb was irregular? For example, what if the verb was empezar? Go to the yo. Empezar would be empiezo. Drop the o. Empiez. Is it a car, gar, or zar? Yes. So we'll change the z to c. And then the opposite vowel ending, it would end up being empiece or empieces, and so on. So it's really important when we're conjugating the subjunctive to always go back to these steps. Don't just put on the opposite vowel endings, es, hemos, en, a, as, a, amos, ais, an. Make sure you go through each of the steps that we learned before when we were learning the negative to commands, and it should be easy. Hasta luego.